I'm back with some H1B good news, bad news. And the good news of I want to share a couple of clips. The good news of the first one I'm going to share is that it is being shared by a major local affiliate of CBS in the Dallas area. It is the CBS affiliate in Dallas, so that's a big deal. Big deal. They're covering the story. Now, how they cover it, we'll talk a little bit about that. But then there's another clip I want to share after that that also focuses on the same area in Texas, a town called Frisco, Texas. If you're not familiar with it, it's not a small town. Just because you may not have heard of it, it's got over 200,000 people there. And right now, you have about a third of them that are Asian Indian. And I've lived there for 12 years. And I moved there about 20 years ago. Stayed there for 12 years, and I've seen the differences. So I can comment personally on it. Let's take a look and see how CBS reports the story.
Frisco tonight, some are calling the Indian population growth there problematic. There are accusations that some visa holders maybe gained their work status fraudulently and took American jobs. Our Marvin Hurst tonight, looking for answers.
For all the things that Frisco is known for.
I also see people who were evicted because their job was replaced by H1B workers.
A fight over demographics has led to some uncomfortable conversations.
People from India are walking in, not even going through the proper channels to apply, while Texans are going homeless.
That seem like fighting words. One of the most vocal is self-proclaimed journalist Mark Palaciano.
I have no political affiliation. I don't identify with the left or right. I identify with all Americans, even the Americans that disagree with me, even the Americans that call me racist for what I'm doing.
Palaciano feels like he's led the charge to get people to notice numbers he says deserve a closer look in Frisco. He describes it as an, quote, Indian takeover, end quote.
I've grown up around a lot of different races, but when the Indian population in America is 1.6%, but in Frisco it's exploded to 33%. That's not diversity.
Here's a breakdown of the demographics in Frisco, which...
Now, someone I saw in the comments pointed out that this doesn't equal 100%. And let's see, if you remember the hand, yeah, they're right. That's like 105%. So someone can't do math, but let's continue.
Remain overwhelmingly white. Then there's Asian, which
overwhelmingly white is not 45.5%. That's just majority. Well, it's plurality. They're the top race by percentage. That's not even majority. That's not even over half. But let's continue.
Slumps in Indian, Hispanics, blacks, and so on. So what's wrong with that number?
It's a good question. I don't know how to answer, right? Because what is the right number? Now, I don't know. Now, I think if America's population is 1.6% Indian and Frisco's is 33%, that just seems like a very big difference to me.
He keeps coming to city leaders with claims of fraudulent HB1 visas, even though it's a federal matter. The visas permit American companies to employ non-citizens for work.
I think there's absolutely something that should be looked into there if there's abuse and fraud, for sure.
Frisco City Councilman Bert Thacker.
The city has had an exponential amount of growth in the last 20 years in population. And yes, 18 to 20% of that happens to come from India. They came here legally. We've had this happen before in our history. We've had it happen with the Irish. We've had it happen with the Germans. We've had it happen, look, with African Americans. We've had it happen with Hispanic people.
So we reached out to ICE to try to find out if they have an H1B problem in Frisco. They said they would get us some information, but so far they have not responded, even after we asked day after day after day. These are online statistics from ICE regarding HB1 visas since 2021. The numbers show how many have applied, how many are eligible, and how many were granted the visas. If you look closely, the applicants and those accepted have dropped significantly.
Go back to India. Why?
In August 2022, Dr. Vidisha Rudra and 3 Indian American friends lived out a hurtful experience in a Plano parking lot because they were Indian.
I can say that I feel better, that there were some consequences that she had to pay for. But I will, for the rest of my life, I will live through this incident from time and time.
Esmeralda Upton faced criminal charges and settled a lawsuit with the women last year.
Words like the Indian takeover, it hurts me because this country, America, is built of, is a potpourri of different cultures, different backgrounds, different ethnicities.
The turf in this country can be tough.
Once they get up to 50%, you can't even compete with them when at the voting polls.
Is there something wrong with that?
It's a very,
If it's not fraudulent.
yeah, I believe in legal immigration. Look, my last name is Palaciano. That's an Italian name. My dad is an immigrant. My dad moved to this country and got a better life.
And the soil gets personal, even in Frisco.
It's personal to me, Marvin, because I'm going to die one day. I want to leave this place a little better than I found it. I want people to start looking at the goodness in each other and not looking at the awful things. It's amazing things. My heart goes out to people who've lost their jobs, and my heart goes out to people who don't have what they have. But we can do a lot of good. And if we figured out how to get along, if we figured out how to stop being jerks to each other, if we figured out, like, hey, we can do so many good things together.
Marvin Hurst, CBS News, Texas.
All right. Now, I have some problems with the way this guy reported the story. Perhaps he's new to it, but the way it was edited, they clearly are trying to make it just about race. In fact, unfortunately, when you look at the comments, a lot of people thought the story was about race. That is not Mark Palaciano's point of view. That's not my point of view on the whole H1B situation. I don't think that's the point of view for most people who have a problem with the programs. The problems that citizens have with the program is that we as citizens were never asked what kind of immigration policy we want. And so the real issue is how corporations and governments at all levels collaborate to push out American citizens. In the blue collar sector, it was with the argument that Americans, these folks are just doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. So we have to let the illegals do it. In the white collar sector, you have all of these visa candidates saying Americans aren't smart enough to do it, so we have to let the people who are better educated overseas come in and do the work. I pointed out several times how that's just not the case. Why do they have to come here and get educated by our folks at our universities, or be trained by the people that they're replacing, or come in and get a level 1 software engineer job? Level 1 meaning entry level. You do not need to import someone for an entry level job. That's the focus that this guy should have had with this story, but he didn't. And he did point out how this run-in with what appeared to be a Caucasian lady and 3 Indian women out in a parking lot someplace, that seemed to be racial. We don't know. I don't know all the backstory of that. I don't really want to know. My problem with is I don't care what the skin color is. In fact, my melanin content is the same as Asian Indians. My problem is they're coming in. We don't need it. We don't need the system. H1Bs are supposed to be not replacing American workers. They're just supposed to be supplementing the workforce. And as long as you have people who are qualified, do not have work, the H1B person does not need to be here. And it's not temporary. They keep getting extended over and over again until someone puts them on the pathway to get a green card. Or with the way this whole birthright citizenship thing is, they can have a child and then be here indefinitely. I like Mark Palaciano, but I did see last month, March 2026, when someone put in a comment on one of his videos saying, hey, we have the primaries coming up and I want to go vote. Do you have like a voting guide that you could share with me, who I should probably vote for, who would be the best candidates for the whole H1B situation? And he said, I don't vote. So Mark Palaciano doesn't vote. So in addition to him saying he's not political, he's not with the left or the right, Republican or Democrat, he doesn't vote. So he's kind of like Colin Kaepernick in that sense, where Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee, was protesting about what he perceived to be police brutality against people of color. And then we find out that he, at least at the time, does not vote. Maybe that's still the case, maybe it's not. Yeah, that's one problem I have with him, but I like his guts, I like his spunk. and how he takes it to the folks there at the Frisco City Council. The guy can say that it's just a federal issue, but we know that things can be done at the local level. For example, in Minneapolis, that mayor, their city, I believe his name is Jacob Fry, he is saying that the local law enforcement there shouldn't cooperate with immigrations and customs services, with immigration and custom enforcement, with ICE. So he's making his city a sanctuary city. He has that kind of power. Governors have that kind of power. Abigail Spanberger, the new governor of Virginia, has that kind of power, and she's telling folks at the state and local level to not cooperate with ICE, therefore making the state a sanctuary state. Here in Texas, I was surprised to find out, and I didn't know this until the candidate named Chip Roy, he's running for Attorney General in Texas, that he said that we, by law, have to educate the children of people we know that are here illegally. So we're educating the children of illegal aliens by law. So that's a carrot to keep them here. They can get I don't know if it's legal for them to get a driver's license, but I don't think they're walking everywhere. We have to take care of them if they go into a hospital. So many carrots. You know they're here illegally. They shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that much of a problem. But anyway, let's go to the second clip. This one might get under your skin, so take some chamomile or whatever you need to do afterwards to cool off.
I came here on H1B 2004. Everybody was Americans. But the fast forward, now you don't see any Americans.
This is Frisco, Texas, a once quiet farm town turned home to one of the largest and fastest growing Indian communities in America, as the Indian population exploded from less than 2% to almost 20% Indian in the last 20 years. Many Texans are outraged, declaring there has been an Indian invasion. I pulled up to the Frisco Town Hall meeting to witness the clash of heritage Texans and their new Indian neighbors. Where are you from?
Hyderabad.
I'm from India.
From India.
Where in India? Hyderabad? Why do you think Frisco became such a big hub for Indians?
They have their own community here.
Okay.
No, it's not like that.
Not like that here in Frisco?
No.
Motherland India or Texas, USA?
Oh, obviously, motherland India.
Obviously, motherland India.
Hyderabad, of course.
Really? Did you come here on H1B?
Yeah. I'm on H1B.
H1B?
Yeah.
You're H1B?
Yeah.
Working here at 7-Eleven?
Yeah.
We need more or less H1B people here?
We need a lot less. I have 2 master's degrees. I was making over $100,000 a year. They said, you're too expensive, we're going to hire Indians.
If residents don't wake up, you could eventually have an entire Indian city council here because they're showing up to the voting polls and they're getting their people in.
If we give this up, we're doomed. The devil would say, well, you're racist. That's racist. According to the devil's dictionary definition of the term, I am racist. I came here on H1B.
When did you come?
2004. I was only one Indian in entire my team. Everybody was Americans. But the fast forward, now if you go to my work any other places, you don't see any Americans.
I got laid off 20 years ago. I worked in IT. I have 2 master's degrees.
And how much do you think they pay the H1B replacement?
Well, at the time, 20 years ago, they paid him probably half what I make. I haven't been able to find a job in IT since, and it's really sad.
My name is Shri. My name is Inba. My name is Ardav. My name is Siddharth. Hi, my name is Jiti.
This is insurrection. This is the overthrow of the United States government.
Why are people with multiple H1B companies registered to one address donating to Frisco's first Indian mayor?
If these were truly high-skilled Germans or Poles, we'd welcome the net positive.
I urge the council to reject such a rhetoric that divides residents based on where they came from.
Every person in this room right now, their ancestors have come from a different country, a different continent.
It seems like there's a lot of Indian people that are opening up their own companies and they have H1B. So are they using that to bring people over? Are they possibly running laptop farms out of their houses and having employees from India do work? I mean, there's so many different questions.
H1Bs are the scapegoats. The employers, those are the people who have to investigate it. If we turn away from God and the Word of God, if we worship these Indians, these Somalis, if we just give everything to them, willing to cut your own throat, we'll die. So what do I think about H1B or whatever? I don't want to go to hell. I do not want to go to hell.
Okay, so we saw some of the same faces. We saw that city councilman from Frisco in that video. We saw Mark Palaciano again. And we saw quite a few H1B folks who said they were here on H1Bs. Here's one thing I will say, and maybe I'll talk about this in a separate video. I don't want this to be the focus of what I'm talking about, but I will say, if your goal is to have this argument and be successful at it, you should get as far away from the Confederate flag as possible. Leave it at home. Don't bring it with you. You're hurting your argument. And I don't know that man, but it's been my experience, and I need to check more into this, but it seems like he is not the kind of guy who in the last presidential election voted for Kamala Harris. He likely voted for Trump. So he likely is a Republican. And if you're a Republican, you should have nothing to do with the Confederate flag. It is a Democrat Party flag, and you're just making it easier for your opponent to beat you up intellectually. You don't want people to think that the party switched sides, but then you're waving the flag of the other side around. I don't think Democrats allow the Confederate flag at any of their events, any of their protests, or their Democrat National Convention, even though it is their flag, historically, heritage-wise. They'll have the LGBTQ flag, they'll have the BLM flag, they'll have those kind of flags, but not the Confederate flag. And it seems like the people who want to still keep that flag alive are more right-wingers. I don't know this. I haven't really talked to those folks individually, but it seems like they're not the kind of folks who would vote for Biden or Harris or Obama. And it seems to be the side that's on the right that has to tell folks to leave those flags at home. The only flag that you should be bringing is the American flag. So I'll say that. Well, how did that video make you feel? I didn't like it. You know, here's a man, a natural-born American who has a couple master's degrees, and he's saying he can't find work. I know the feeling. I know the feeling. And you got a guy who's saying when he was working, he was an H1B guy, that he was one of the few who was Asian Indian, who wasn't American. Now, there are no Americans where he works. But he's saying that the problem is with the corporations, not with the H1B. The H1B person is the scapegoat. No, I disagree. Shouldn't we hate the people that are hiring these folks and not the people themselves? Well, that sounds compassionate. But the truth is no different than when you have people who come here illegally, and when they have some no ICE protest, they show up waving their flags of the country that they came from. The same thing will happen when it comes to these H1B folks. You saw their allegiance is with Mother India or Hyderabad, not with Texas or the U.S. It comes down to that too, especially when they get busted. Let me show one more clip. This is of someone who is getting busted. And you'll see the attitude. There are others that go into more depth, and you see the defensiveness that they have. You don't see it as much in this clip, but it exists.
There's another company we discovered in the area with some irregularities. This is Innovative Datalytics Group, LLC, located at 8105 Razor Boulevard in Plano. They've got at least 7 H1B workers who should be working on site.
So Innovative Datalytics stood out because it had no website, which is weird for a company with a bunch of software engineers here on H1B visas. The visa paperwork listed the company in Suite 78, so we went looking for it, but couldn't seem to find that suite number in the entire building until...
I think we found Suite 78 right here, pretty cramped quarters for 7 workers, wouldn't you say?
So seeing as we couldn't get the public access files from the business location, we tracked down the owner and went to go speak with her at her home.
Hi, I was looking for Uma Devi. Speaking. Oh, that's you?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Do you own Innovative Datalytics Group?
Yes.
Great. I know you have some H1B workers here with LCAs. Where are the workers located?
They're in the office actually, so I'm not sure, but the residential address you're asking about?
Where's the office located?
The office is in
the Razor Boulevard. So it's Suite 78.
I don't know the exact address. I can check with him.
Well, it's interesting because we already checked, and that suite is actually just a mailbox. So are the workers located in the mailbox?
No, not.
So where are all the workers?
I'm not sure. That's why I have.
Well, you own the company. You're registered to the state of Texas.
I know, ma'am.
Okay.
What you're saying.
The first business owner I've seen that has no idea about her own business.
And it goes on and on. She's got a lot of content like that. Sarah Gonzalez of Blaze Media. And the Blaze Media just happens to be located here in Texas. Founded by Glenn Beck, who used to live in New York. When he left Fox, he moved to Texas and started Glenn Beck TV, which eventually became Blaze Media. So, and she's part of that. I thought she was familiar when I shared her in a different video. Like, that face looks familiar. Now I recognize it. Sarah Gonzalez. And she's got a lot of good content. I saw one where she's talking to a man who's working in a food truck that's supposedly owned by his wife on an H4 visa. But the wife's not there. He is there. He's taking orders, serving people. He's not supposed to be doing that job. He's supposed to be doing something else with his H1B, but it goes on and on. So that's the bad news. The good news is that people are talking about it. It made it to the CBS affiliate. It's making it to Blaze Media. I see stories all the time. And the American people aren't going to put up with it. You could see some of the faces of the natural-born American citizens sitting there in the city council meeting, kind of rolling their eyes. And you saw some of the defensiveness of the Asian Indians saying, "Hey, this country is a melting pot, and everybody who is here was an immigrant at some point." No. So I'm not having it. No. I lived in Frisco for 12 years. 20 years ago, as they talked about, was 2006. That's when I moved there, and I could see the difference. It is not an organic growth. It is being helped along by corporations and government to replace Americans. Maybe you're familiar with the recent story about Oracle and how they're taking on so many more H1Bs, even though they got rid of a lot of Americans last fall. So people are getting tired of it. They're noticing, they're connecting the dots, and it's not about skin color. If everybody coming over here through some visa came from Australia or someplace in Europe, if they're European descent, I think people feel the same way. No, you got to take care of us first. If they're so great over there in India, show me how they're going to the moon. We're going to the moon again, right? We're not landing. We're going around the moon. Show me the Indian made automobile that you want to drive, that you want to buy and drive. They don't have one. So if it were so great, we will be copying them, not the other way around. Anyway, that's all I want to cover for this video. Talk to you next time. Bye.